Hey everybody, Bill here. I've got some more Stadia news for you. It's the end of the month, and at the end of every month, they tell us what are the pro games that we will be getting in the next month. And so now we do have our August pro games, but before I get to that, I want to take a second to talk about the value of Stadia Pro. I think right now there are two things that are I don't know that I want to say equally, but they're really neck and neck as far as bang for your buck, and that is Stadia Pro and Xbox Game Pass. Those two things are incredibly good value for your money. Microsoft just did their presentation where they talked about all of these games, and all of them are coming to Game Pass, and I think that for a lot of people, that is a really, really good deal. And it's definitely something that I'm going to continue to subscribe to. I do the PC Game Pass, though, because I don't have an Xbox. I think it's really compelling. And then the other one is Stadia Pro. Stadia Pro is also an incredible value. Right before I hit record, I went through and counted, and I think I have 27 games. 27 games that I have gotten through Stadia Pro so far. Now, when Stadia was first announced, when Google said that they were working on a streaming service, there were a whole bunch of people who made an assumption. They assumed that that meant that it was going to be the Netflix business model. And the Netflix business model is you subscribe and you can play anything while you're subscribed. And then when you unsubscribe, it's all gone. You can't play anything anymore. With these, and if that's the kind of thing that you're looking for, and I will admit that there's a lot of people who are looking for that, then Game Pass is for you. But for Stadia Pro, I personally feel like Stadia Pro, over a long period of time, is going to turn out to be a better deal than Game Pass. And here's why. Game Pass has games that come in and then they rotate out. And I've seen in the comment section of my YouTube channel many people trying to compare the two. And while I think that for some people Game Pass works better and for other people Stadia Pro works better, I personally like the idea with Stadia Pro where we don't have that rotating out anymore. As long as I continue to be a Stadia Pro member each and every month, as part of my membership, I click those claim buttons, so those games are now bound to my account. And even when, we'll say in 3 months, when you can no longer claim, I guess I'll say, I'm trying to think of a Stadia Pro game. Well, we'll say Kona, which I'll talk about in a second. In 3 months, when I can no longer claim Kona, I can still play it as long as I'm still subscribed. That's the big difference between Game Pass and Stadia Pro, is that with Stadia Pro, you can continue to play these games 3 years down the line if you are still subscribed. And I think that that's a really compelling reason to stay subscribed to Stadia Pro. Whereas I might jump in with Game Pass like, oh, look at this. They've got this cool game coming out this month. I'm going to subscribe for this month and I'll play. But then I'm going to cancel my subscription because there's nothing else in there that I really want to play right now. And so I don't want to continue to pay for it. But with Stadia Pro, I can continue to play those games for a really, really long time. There is no rotating out. Those games that I claimed back in November of last year are still part of my my profile on Stadia because I claimed them. And as time goes on, I think it's going to be harder and harder and harder for people to say, you know what, I think I'm going to cancel my Stadia Pro, because as time goes on, that library just keeps getting bigger and bigger. While on Xbox Game Pass, the library kind of stays around the same size all the time. And currently, that library is bigger than Stadia Pro. And that's a very good argument for why Game Pass is better. But as time goes on, eventually Stadia Pro is going to catch up because they don't have that rotating out. So the sooner that people sign up for Stadia Pro, the better. All right, so I think that Stadia Pro and Game Pass are both fantastic deals. In fact, I think that they are the best bang for your buck in the gaming industry right now. And I look forward to seeing both evolve. And I think that subscription gaming, both companies are doing it very, very different ways. And I think that there's room for both in the industry. Let's talk about the announcements that happened today. I'm about to talk about them, but first, do all of those YouTube things that we always ask you to do. Let's take a look at the games that are coming to Stadia Pro in August. We've got Just Shapes and Beats, which is really, really good, although pretty hard, I think. I still have yet to lower the difficulty, but I feel like I'm going to have to if I want to progress any further into that game. It's really, really fun, though. Then there is Metro 2033 Redux, or Redo. I don't know how to pronounce it. Let me know in the comment section down below. Bill, learn to pronounce things. Strange Brigade, which is a game that I just let you guys know about on Friday. And then Kona. So let's see. These are the 4 games that we're getting in August for Stadia Pro. And you know what I will also make sure that I want to point out is that, man, the Stadia Pro, like back in June, they gave us 6 games, and then in July, I think it was 5 games, and now in August we're getting 4 games. Like, can they keep this up? There's so many games. I think that I counted 27 games that I have so far with Stadia Pro. It's fantastic. What an awesome deal. Let's see what they have to say here in this press release. August kicks off with 4 more games headed to Stadia Pro, including 2 games making their Stadia debut. Also this week, a new Stadia Experiment that lets you try out your games in more places than ever before. Yeah, stick around for the end until the end for that. That one's actually really, really important to a lot of people. Not to me, but to a lot of people. New games coming to Stadia Pro August 1st. We're starting this Saturday off with 4 more games coming to Pro. The Curses of Ancient Egypt return to life in Strange Brigade, a cooperative action adventure for up to 4 friends. You'll explore labyrinths, sorry, I said that wrong, prowled by undead guardians and hideous monsters. Harness traps to turn the tables on your enemies or blast your way to the heart of Seteki's temple. Strange Brigade is new on Stadia and ready to claim on Stadia Pro beginning August 1st. I am really excited for that game. I watched the video for like what the gameplay is like, and it looks really, really fun. It's actually a game that came out a couple of years ago. And, you know, I'll say this. There's a lot of people who say, well, with Stadia Pro, you only get old games. And what I'll say to that is they're new to me, so I'm happy to have them. As time goes on, as we get further into Stadia's life, we're going to be getting new games coming to Stadia, games that have never been on any other platform before. They'll launch with Stadia, and I'll bet that we'll get some of those on Stadia Pro, and especially if Google is listening. Google, you got to do that. It's really going to help. All right, let's go back to the press release. Embrace your inner detective in Kona, a chilling adventure set in the snowbound Canadian village. Something strange is at work at the edge of the world, and it's up to you to solve the mystery and survive. Kona challenges both your wits and your nerves. Unravel a web of clues as you search a spooky, abandoned northern retreat in the midst of a deadly blizzard, also new on Stadia. I will say this. When I saw the gameplay footage or the announcement trailer for Kona, I think it was like 2 months ago or something like that, that game got me really excited. It looks really cool and very reminiscent of Firewatch. Google, if you're listening, go find Firewatch and get it on Stadia. It's a fantastic game and would be a great pro game. A lot of people have not played that, And that's too bad because it is in my opinion, it's like a masterpiece. It's fantastic. Then they talk about Metro 2033. Face the terrors of post-apocalyptic Moscow tunnels with Metro 2033, a story-driven, single-player, first-person shooter. Make your way through a post-war odyssey that challenges you to think quickly and move quicker to survive. Now, I have not played that version of this Metro game. I played Metro Exodus, and Metro Exodus to me felt more like a very slow stealth game. So I don't know if 2033 plays differently than that. If it plays like Metro Exodus, then I think that there's going to be a lot of people who are really going to have fun with that game, because Metro Exodus is fantastic, really fun stealth game. I'm curious why they're describing this as more of a shooter and talking about thinking quick and moving quicker in order to survive. Makes me wonder more about what that game plays like and how much of a departure Exodus was from the previous games, seeing as how Exodus was my first foray into that world. The rhythm pulses and world changes in just shapes and beats. Test your reflexes against the beat across dynamic levels that move and shift around you in a completely unique musical experience. This game is fantastic. It's so good. But be ready to lose a lot. But the music is top notch. Really great game. You're going to enjoy this one. Play all 4 of these games free with Stadia Pro starting August 1st. They said free. I don't say free. It's with your Stadia Pro subscription. It's not free. You paid for it. They're just a few of the games you can claim today keep as long as you stay subscribed. That right there, that's why I think Stadia Pro is better, or is a better value to me than Game Pass. In addition, Rock of Ages 3 is coming to Stadia Pro later this month. So later this month, when this game comes to Google Stadia, we're actually going to have 5 games in August. So, man, our libraries just keep getting bigger. Later in August, the boulder rolling action of Rock of Ages 3 arrives, launching straight into Stadia Pro. Crush everything that stands in your path, build your own levels, and share them with friends to spread the destruction. Look for it starting August 14th. Then they are talking about, it looks like there's a game that's on its way out of the Stadia Pro. That doesn't mean you won't be able to play it anymore, but it means you won't be able to claim it anymore. And that is Zombie Army 4 Dead War. The end of this month is also your last chance to claim the chilling Zombie Army 4 Dead War, which is free with Stadia Pro. Pick it up before August 1st, and you can keep it as long as you have your Pro subscription. By the way, I just want to make sure I clear this up for anybody who is confused about this. Let's say that I claim Zombie Army 4, right? It's now I have it, and I continue to be a subscriber to Stadia Pro. And then we'll say in September I cancel my Pro subscription. I no longer can play Zombie Army 4, but if I renew my subscription, and I know a lot of you already know this, but this is a reminder for anybody that doesn't know. Let's say in November I renew my subscription again, I can play all of those games that I could play before that I had previously claimed on my account. And I think that is a very, very important thing. Then they also talk about Celeste. Celeste is coming very soon to Stadia today. It is now out and available for $20. Welcome to Celeste, the award-winning platformer about friendship, failure, and confronting ourselves, and also gathering strawberries. It's simply one of the best video games in years, and it's on Stadia right now. You can pick it up for $20 in the Stadia store beginning today. This is a game where you gotta be pixel perfect platforming, and latency is going to be very, very important. I don't think that the developer would bring this game to Stadia if the latency was not acceptable. I think that this is going to be one of those games that shows everybody, hey, remember all of those things that the super negative YouTubers were saying about Stadia, about how the latency is terrible and it's unplayable nonsense. guess what? No, it's not. And I think Celeste is going to be one more of those games that kind of shows everybody that this just works, and it works really, really well. Orcs Must Die 3 is also something else that you can get with Pro, which is really awesome. You can also you can also get Season 8 you can get the Season 8 Battle Pass in PUBG starting on July 30th. So that's also coming. And then remember at the beginning, I said that they're going to make it so that you have more places where you can play. This one is very big. Listen to this. Try out Stadia with 4G and 5G. Try games on Stadia using 4G and 5G with a new Stadia Experiment launching July 28th. That's today. If you'd like to be part of this experiment, you can opt into it, into cellular play by opening the Stadia app on an Android phone, clicking on your avatar in the top right corner, selecting Experiments, and then choosing Use Mobile Data. We'll have more opt-in programs in the future as we bring even more helpful features to Stadia. So I know that there's a lot of people out there who want to be able to play their games no matter where they are using their phone, not this phone because this is an iPhone, but they want to be able to use their phone and play their games wherever they are. And when I interviewed John Justice, he said, no, we're not doing that. We're going to wait for 5G. Well, it looks like they decided that LTE is good enough to work. So it's an experimental feature. We saw in the recent APK teardown by 9to5 Google where they said, where it's going to give you warnings and say, hey, this is going to use a bunch of your bandwidth, a bunch of your data for the month. So keep that in mind. And I like that Stadia are doing these quote unquote experimental features. I think that that is a very, very good thing. They also went on to finish up by saying the summer game sale continues. There are special deals waiting this week for Stadia Pro subscribers. And they listed a bunch of them. You can just like take a quick screenshot or pause the video if you want to see if there's something there that you are interested in. And then if you're not a Stadia Pro subscriber, there are also a bunch of deals that are available to you as well. All right. So I hit a bunch of stuff, but there's one more thing that I wanted to add, and that is that the ESRB is the Electronic Software Rating Board. They're terrible at keeping secrets. So this came out earlier today that this is a new what's the word I'm looking for? A routine that I do. I go to the ESRB website and I search for Stadia games, and then I scroll through the list, and it's easier because there's not a lot of games. Like if I tried to do this on Nintendo Switch, I'd be scrolling forever. There'd be pages and pages and pages because there's thousands of games on the Nintendo Switch. Although, remember when everybody thought that the Switch was going to be, a graveyard because it was Nintendo and third-party publishers wouldn't bring stuff to Nintendo? Now there's thousands of games on the Nintendo Switch. Anyway, moving on. This actually is a game that I'd never heard of before. It's called Ari and the Secret of Seasons. It's coming to Windows, PlayStation, Stadia, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox One. Here's what they have to say about this game. This is an adventure game in which players help a girl journey through a fantasy world to stop a villain's evil plans. Players traverse a colorful landscape, solve puzzles, and battle various creatures, hyena, soldiers, minotaurs, giant bears, and melee-style combat. Players use swords and slingshots to defeat enemies. Battles are somewhat frenetic, with impact sounds, cries of pain, and screen-shaking effects. They're telling us why they're rating it, what they're rating it. It is rated E10, I'm interested in seeing what this game is like and when it is coming to Stadia. Of course, Google didn't mention this in their press release today, but you can always count on the ESRB to leak things just a little bit too soon. Anyway, that's it for me for today. If you haven't already, click on all of the YouTube things because it really does help. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me and subscribing. And make sure that you turn on all notifications because then you'll get notified each and every time that we post something new. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, bye-bye.